My name is Daniel Cole. I'm 34. I build custom cabinetry for a living, the kind of work where you measure twice because wood doesn't forgive you for guessing. I live alone in a rented house with too many tools and not enough furniture, which Holly has pointed out more than once, usually while sitting on my one good chair. Sam Whitfield asked me to be his best man on a Tuesday, standing in my driveway holding two coffees, looking like a man who'd rehearsed something and forgotten the ending. There's a reason it has to be you, he said. And it's not just that we've been friends since high school. I figured he meant the speech. The toast. Something about timing or scheduling. He was wrong. And I didn't find out how wrong until the rehearsal dinner. 3 weeks later, when his sister said 4 words that ended my ability to pretend. That came later, though. First, the part where I tell you who everyone is, because none of it makes sense without it. Holly Whitfield is 28. She runs the production side of a small podcast studio, the kind of job where she's always slightly behind on sleep and always slightly ahead on opinions. She has a cheap ceramic mug from college, hairline cracked down one side, faded logo from a coffee shop that's been closed for 6 years. I have offered to fix that crack with wood filler at least 4 times. She has refused every time. It's not broken, she says. It's lived in. She talks fast when she's nervous and slow when she's lying. And she has never once successfully lied to me about anything that mattered. I met her the way you meet most people who end up mattering. By accident. Badly. Freshman year, I sat in her assigned seat in a lecture hall because the room was dark and I couldn't read the little card taped to the desk. She informed me ad volum that I was sitting in her spot and I told her the seating chart wasn't legally binding. We argued about that for 10 minutes before the professor told us both to be quiet. We've been arguing, more gently, for 13 years since. She is Sam's younger sister. That's the part that matters. That's the part that has mattered for 13 years. Quietly, like a low hum you stop noticing until someone points it out. He never made a move. Not because I didn't want to. Because Sam was my best friend. And Holly was Sam's little sister. And there's an unwritten rule about that, the kind nobody writes down because everyone already knows it. He told myself I respected the rule. That's the version I gave people. The truth is closer to this. I was scared that if I tried and failed, I wouldn't lose a girlfriend, I'd lose the only family that ever felt like mine. So I didn't try. I just stayed close enough to know everything about her and far enough to never test it. The night everything cracked open smelled like rosemary and candle smoke, because Sam's fiancée Priya had the rehearsal dinner catered at her parents' place. An old farmhouse with low ceilings and a fireplace that ran too hot for June, 40 people crammed into a dining room built for 12. Someone's uncle was already drunk on toasts nobody had asked for yet. Holly was at the far end of the table laughing at something, holding that mug like she always does at family things. Like it's a small piece of ballast, keeping her steady in rooms full of people who love her loudly. Sam stood up to test his microphone for tomorrow's speech, tapping it twice, and said, half joking, "Okay, before tomorrow, does anyone have anything they need to get off their chest? Free pass tonight only." It was a joke, wedding rehearsal humor. Nobody was supposed to actually answer. His mother, 3 glasses of wine deep and incapable of reading a room, raised her hand like she was in school. "I do," she said. Holly's been in love with Daniel since she was 19, and everyone at this table knows it except him. The room laughed, the warm kind of laugh, the kind that assumes it's safe to laugh because surely this is just family teasing. I laughed too, half a second too late. Holly didn't laugh. She went still in a way I'd never seen her go still before. Not dramatically. Just still. The way a held breath is still. That was the part of the night that mattered. Everything else was just the story explaining how we got there. He wanted to back up because the night didn't start with that sentence. It started 2 hours earlier, with me arriving late because a client called about a cabinet door that wouldn't close right. And Jolie meeting me at the door of the farmhouse with 2 drinks already poured. "You're late," she said. "I covered for you. Told everyone you were finishing something important and noble." Was I? "You were fixing a cabinet door." I made it sound like surgery. She handed me the drink. "Don't make me a liar. That's Holly. She lies a little to make you sound better than you are and then tells you she did it so you can't take it seriously. We found our usual spot, The two folding chairs near the side door that nobody else wanted because the AC vent blew on them too hard. We've claimed those chairs at every Whitfield family gathering for a decade. Nobody questions it anymore. It's just where Daniel and Holly sit. Sam's mother once tried to move the seating chart for a Thanksgiving dinner and put us at opposite ends of the table as a joke. We'd switched our place cards back within 4 minutes, without discussing it like a reflex neither of us had to think about. Priya's mother kept refilling glasses. Someone put on music too loud for a dinner and too quiet for a party. Sam made his way around the room, doing what grooms do the night before, accepting hugs he didn't ask for, laughing at jokes he'd heard 6 times. At one point, Holly's phone buzzed and she glanced at it, then set it face down on the table a little harder than she needed to. "Everything okay?" "Fine," she said it fast. I know her well enough to know fast means something. Slow means lying. Fast means she's trying to get past a feeling before it has time to show on her face. He let it go. That's also something I do. I notice and I let it go. Every time, and I've started to wonder if that's generosity or cowardice, wearing the same coat. 20 minutes later, Priya's younger cousin, maybe 12 years old and operating with the diplomatic immunity of a child at an adult party, wandered over to our chairs holding a slice of bread she'd apparently stolen from the kitchen. "Are you Holly's boyfriend?" she asked me, with the flat confidence of someone who has never once been told to mind her own business. "No," I said. "Just her friend." The girl looked unconvinced, the way children look unconvinced when adults give them an answer that doesn't match what they've observed. "She talks about you like you're her boyfriend," she said, and then wandered off toward the dessert table before either of us could respond, leaving the sentence to just sit there, unclaimed, between us. Holly laughed it off too quickly. Kids say things. "She's not wrong that you'd talk about me a normal amount," I said, mostly to see what she'd do with it. "I talk about you a completely standard, non-alarming amount," Holly said, and reached for her wine. And I noticed, because I notice everything about her, it's practically a second job, that her fingers tightened once around the stem of the glass before she lifted it. Not dramatically. Just once. The kind of small tell you'd miss if you weren't already looking, which I always am, and have been for years, and have never once admitted to myself with this much clarity, until that exact second. Across the table, Sam's college roommate launched into the Albuquerque story again, this time with a new, worse ending. A little later, Priya pulled Holly aside near the kitchen doorway to ask something about table arrangements for tomorrow. I wasn't trying to listen. He was getting another drink, which happened to require standing near that exact doorway, which is a coincidence I'm not going to defend too hard. "You're sitting next to Daniel at the head table," Priya said. "That's fine, right?" "Why wouldn't it be fine?" "No reason. You just said his name 4 times before I even finished the seating chart, so I figured I'd ask." Holly didn't answer that one directly. She said something about the centerpieces instead. Fast, the way she does when a question gets closer to true than she's ready for. He pretended very hard to be interested in the location of the ice. Later, when Sam's college roommate told a long story about a road trip that nobody remembered fondly, except him, Holly leaned toward me and said, low, just for me, "If I have to hear about the Albuquerque gas station one more time, I'm leaving the wedding entirely. I'll fake my own death." "I'll help you plan it. I know a guy who builds very convincing fake coffins." "Do you?" "I build cabinets, Holly. It's the same skill set with worse customer reviews." That got the smallest real smile from her. The kind that doesn't perform for the table. The kind that's just for me. I've spent 13 years collecting those. I have poor survival instincts around Whitfield women. I knew this and did nothing about it, which is its own kind of acceptance. Then Sam stood up to test the mic, made his joke, and his mother answered it like it wasn't a joke at all. After the laugh moved through the room and started to fade, I turned toward Holly, the way you turn toward someone when you need to read a room through one specific face. She was looking at the mug in her hands. Not at me, not at her mother. Just the mug, thumb tracing the hairline crack like it was a sentence she was reading in Braille. "Mom," Holly said, voice even. "That's not..." And then she stopped, because there wasn't an ending to that sentence that wasn't a lie. And she doesn't lie slow and convincingly. She lies slow and badly, and everyone at that table had 13 years of practice spotting it. Sam, microphone still in hand, looked at his sister, then at me, then back at his sister. and something moved across his face that looked like a decision being made about 10 years too late. "Oh," he said quietly, into a microphone that was thankfully not turned on. "Oh, it's not just mom being mom. It's actually okay." Wow. I genuinely did not know that was a real thing and not a joke we've all just been doing for a decade. "Sam." Holly's voice had an edge now. "No, I'm just." He set the microphone down like it had become a liability. "I asked Daniel to be my best man specifically because I thought it would be funny. The two of you up there together, very normal, very fine. Nothing complicated about it at all." He did not realize I was setting off a "what is this? What is happening right now?" The room had gone from one wide laugh to 40 individual conversations at low volume, the social equivalent of everyone suddenly meeting to check their phones. He should tell you what was happening in my chest, because that's the part that actually mattered. Something in me had gone very quiet and very loud at the same time, which doesn't make sense until it happens to you. Quiet because I couldn't form words. Loud because every memory I had of Holly, the seating chart, the folding chairs, the 2 coffees in my driveway just last month when Sam asked me to do this, all of it rearranged itself in about 4 seconds. Like furniture I'd walked past for years, suddenly revealing it had always spelled out a sentence. That sentence was, "She has been telling you this whole time," in every language except the one you were listening for. Holly stood up, not dramatically. Who stood, Moog steel in hand, and said to the table generally, and to no one specifically, "I'm going to go stand outside for a minute because apparently this is a public event now." She walked out the side door, past our 2 folding chairs, into the dark. Nobody moved for a second. Then Sam looked at me, and I have known that look from him for 19 years. The one that means "go, idiot," before I have to say it out loud in front of our parents. So I went. The air outside was cooler than the dining room, smelled like cut grass, and the last of someone's cigarette from earlier in the evening. Holly was standing near the fence at the edge of the yard, arms crossed, Moog somehow still in one hand, looking at nothing in particular, the way people look at nothing when they don't want to look at the one thing they're aware of. I didn't say anything right away. I've learned that with her, words too early just give her a door to close before she said the real thing. For almost a full minute, neither of us spoke. The party noise behind us had dropped to a low hum, someone's laughter cutting through the glass door every few seconds and then fading again. Holly kept her eyes on the dark line of trees past the fence. I kept my eyes on her, on the particular way she was standing. Weight on one foot, the other heel lifted slightly. Like she was deciding whether to stay or walk further into the dark, where no one could read her face. The mug stayed in her left hand, untouched, like she'd forgotten she was holding it. I thought about every version of this conversation I'd quietly rehearsed over 13 years and never once delivered. None of the rehearsed versions fit the moment as it actually was. Colder, quieter, more real than anything I'd practiced for. "My mom has the timing of a structural collapse," she said finally. "Always sudden, always at the worst possible support beam. She's not wrong, though. I hadn't planned to say that. It came out before I'd finished deciding to risk it." Holly didn't answer right away. She looked down at the mug, turned it once in her hands, found the crack with her thumb again, that same motion she does without noticing she's doing it. "I changed your contact name in my phone 2 years ago," she said, "after your dad's funeral. You called to check on me even though you were the one who'd just lost someone. And I sat there looking at your name on my screen and thought, that's not just Daniel anymore, that's something else. And I didn't have a word for it, so I just typed in something stupid instead." "What did you type?" "Doesn't matter. Holly." She exhaled long, the kind of exhale that's been held since before the rehearsal dinner, maybe before the wedding was even planned, maybe before either of us would admit to a year. "I put home," she said. "Who's that?" One word. And I never changed it back because every time I thought about changing it, I realized I didn't want to, and that scared me more than just leaving it there ever did. That landed. Not loud, just completely. I went still myself then. The way she had gone still inside, my chest doing that thing where it tightens before the brain has caught up enough to name why. "Holly, you don't have to say anything else tonight," I said. "We can go back inside, eat the cake nobody's cut yet, and pretend your mother just told an embarrassing joke at a rehearsal dinner like every mother in human history. I mean that. You don't owe me a continuation of this conversation just because it started without your permission." He meant it as an exit. I needed her to know the door was there, because if she ran for it, I wasn't going to be the reason this whole friendship became unrecognizable to both of us. She looked at me for a long moment, longer than felt entirely safe, and didn't take the exit. I don't want to go back inside and pretend, she said. I'm tired of being the only person at every Whitfield event who has to pretend. Sam knows now. My mother apparently always knew. I think I'm the last one who gets to decide whether I keep doing it. Okay, I said. Then don't. That's not an answer, Daniel. She was right. It wasn't. Every person I've ever dated felt temporary, I said. Even when I liked them. Even when it was good. There was always a part of me filing it under, this isn't the actual thing. You were never temporary. Not once. Not for 13 years. Not even on the bad days when you told me my taste in furniture was, and I'm quoting, a hate crime against good lighting. That was accurate. That's not the point. I know what the point is. Her voice had dropped, quieter than I'd heard it in years. The kind of quiet the framework of every story like this depends on, because the biggest things are never said loud. The point is, I've spent 13 years deciding you were too important to risk, and tonight my mother decided that for me, with one sentence and a glass of Pinot Grigio. Are you angry at her? A little. Mostly, I'm angry that she was right and I wasn't brave enough to be right first. He stepped closer, not fast. Carefully, the way you move towards something you've wanted long enough to be afraid of breaking it on arrival. I'm not going anywhere, I said. Whatever you decide to do with tonight, I need you to know that part isn't actually in question. She set the mug down on the fence post. Carefully, the way you set down something you don't want to drop while your hands are about to be busy with something else. Then kiss me before I lose my nerve again, she said. Because I've lost it for 13 years and I would like this to be the last time. He did. Gently, the way you'd touch something you'd already decided was rare. Her hand found my collar, mine found the side of her face. And for one full second, the entire Whitfield wedding, the cake, the 40 relatives, all of it just stopped existing. Then the side door banged open, and Sam's voice carried across the yard. Are you two finally? Oh, thank God, yes. Okay, great. Can we please cut the cake now? Priya's mother has been holding a knife for 20 minutes, and it's starting to feel less like dessert and more like a hostage situation. Holly laughed against my shoulder, the real kind, the kind that comes out before she can decide to perform it. We should go deal with the knife situation, she said. Probably, yeah. I have some experience de-escalating dangerous people holding sharp objects. It's basically what cabinetry training prepares you for. That's not what cabinetry training prepares you for. It's close enough. Today's a flexible day for definitions. Neither of us moved for another few seconds. Then we did. Moog retrieved off the fence post, fingers loosely linked in a way that felt new, and also like something that had quietly existed for a decade and was only now being given a name. 3 months later, I was still learning the difference between the Holly who'd been my best friend and the Holly who was now also, somehow, mine. And mostly I learned there wasn't much difference at all. She still stole food off my plate without asking. I still overanalyzed her silences like they were structural blueprints. She still refused to let me fix the crack in that mug. And I'd stopped offering, because I understood now what she meant by lived in. A year after that, at Sam and Priya's first anniversary dinner, his mother raised the glass and said, with zero subtlety, I'd like to take credit for this one. Everyone laughed, including Holly, including me. Nobody corrected her. She'd earned it. 2 years later, when people ask how we met, I tell them about the lecture hall, the assigned seat, the seating chart that wasn't legally binding. Holly always interrupts at the same point to say, he means the part where he was wrong and too stubborn to admit it, which is also accurate. Neither of us tells the rehearsal dinner story first. That one we save for people who ask the real question. Underneath the casual one, not how did you meet, but how did you finally know? For that, Holly tells it her way. The mug, the contact name, the words she typed in 2 years before either of us said anything true out loud. He didn't fall in love with Holly Whitfield the night her mother said it out loud at a rehearsal dinner. I'd been in love with her for over a decade by then. Quietly, carefully, in the kind of silence that mistakes itself for restraint. What changed that night wasn't the feeling. It was that we both finally stopped hiding it from people who'd already known for years. It wasn't new. It had probably always been her. It just took both of us getting brave on the same night, in the same backyard, to finally say so. What would you have done if your best friend's family said the thing out loud before either of you had the courage to? And have you ever loved someone quietly for so long that you forgot it was a secret, instead of just a fact you'd never spoken? Tell me your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.